Hey guys, 22 Plinkster here. I have in front of me a Volquartsen Summit. Now this is not the 22 long rifle version that I did a video on last year. This is actually a 17 Mach 2. If you're unfamiliar with the 17 Mach 2, it looks basically like a tiny little 17 HMR. Let me give you a little bit of history on the 17 Mach 2 before we start into the review of the rifle. The 17 HMR, which a lot of you guys are familiar with, is just a 22 Magnum, 22 WMR, neck down to a 17 caliber bullet. So it's the same parent case as a 22 Magnum, but it's neck down from a 22 caliber to a 17 caliber. The 17 Mach 2 is basically a 22 long rifle neck down to a 17 caliber. It's not just a traditional 22 long rifle, it's actually the parent case is a CCI Stanger, you know, CCI Stinger, but I call them Stangers. CCI Stanger neck down to a 17 caliber bullet. In that 22 long rifle casing, this 17 grain projectile, on some loads you can achieve about 2,100 feet per second. This particular ammo put out by CCI this year, this is their 17 Mach 2 VNT varmint loads. These are traveling at about 2,010 feet per second. So this is going just a little bit slower than some of the other 17 Mach 2s that are on the market, but this is a great little hunting round. In 2002, the 17 HMR hit the market. It had a great success among the rimfire following. And in 2004, the 17 Mach 2 came onto the market, hoping that it would have the same success as the HMR. However, just a couple years after it was introduced, the great shortage of rimfire ammunition hit the United States and throughout the world. Manufacturers never stopped making the Mach 2, but they slowed the production down almost to a stop. They wanted to focus all their time on the 22 long rifle, the 17 HMR, and also the 22 Magnum. Now that it's 2019, CCI has upped their game and upped their production of the 17 Mach 2, and it actually has come out with a brand new round. This is going to be released this year, 2019 SHOT Show. This is their VNT tipped. I mentioned before, it's a 17 grain projectile traveling at 2,010 feet per second. And with the rimfire ammunition caught up, you know, there's no longer a shortage in the United States of any kind of rimfire ammunition for that matter. They decided to focus more of their time onto the Mach 2 because there were tens of thousands of firearms that were just out there that was sitting in people's safes that they couldn't shoot them because they couldn't find ammunition. Hence, this is why the review on the Summit. Volquartsen knew, and a lot of other manufacturers knew, that the rimfire shortage would not last forever. The Mach 2 would be made great again, and now they came out with a Summit chambered in the 17 Mach 2. If you haven't seen my original video on the Summit that I did last year, it's basically a push-pull bolt-action design around the Ruger 10/22 platform. Now this is a Volquartsen, like I mentioned before, and this is a custom rifle. It looks pretty neat. It's got a nice little thumb hole target stock on it. It does have a carbon fiber barrel, and it is threaded 1/2x28, and I am using my suppressor. I really like the Leupold VX3 series scopes on my rimfires. They do really, really well. It's really clear optic. And you're probably asking yourself, why in the world you have it mounted that high above your barrel? Well, the reason being, I couldn't find any other 30mm rings that I wasn't using at the time, so I had to put on this mount. It does set up a little high, but it's not too bad because the stock has this cheek piece. In some states, semi-automatic firearms are looked down upon. They're all the time making new regulations against them. And, you know, this right here kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a cool idea because it is not a semi-automatic, but however, any 10/22 part, aftermarket part, will fit on a Volquartsen Summit. Though chambered in the 17 Mach 2, it still takes the traditional 10-shot rotary magazines that you would find in a regular 10/22. So if you have a bunch of Ruger 10/22 magazines laying around, they will fit in the Summit rifle. The Volquartsen Summit is a great suppressor host. And the reason why I say that is when you're shooting a semi-automatic 22 long rifle, a lot of what you hear is the action when that rifle is being cycled. Now with this, it's pretty much like a bolt action with the Summit. You know, you simply press forward, the action stays closed until you open it back up again. And so therefore it's going to be much, much quieter. Not only that, compared to that of a bolt action, when you're trying to work the bolt, if you're trying to get a quick follow-up shot, you can stay on target much easier, much quicker with just doing this right here than you can trying to work a bolt and work it back down. I've jabbed about this rifle and also the Mach 2 long enough. You guys probably came to this video to see how it shoots. Now I'm gonna set up a target downrange at 50 yards and we're gonna see what kind of groups you can expect out of the Volquartsen Summit Mach 2. All right, let me load up 5 shots here of this new CCI ammunition. And we'll see what kind of groups that we can expect to get out of this rifle at 50 yards. At this point, before I go any farther, I've put probably about 200 to 300 rounds through this rifle the past couple of weeks, and I kind of know what to expect here, so hopefully I can do my job. Let me get this focused in. All right, here we go. Now we are going for groups here and we're not going for bullseye. I have this rifle sighted in at 100. But it does look like it's shooting a little left, so at 100 yards it may be shooting a little left. We'll find out. That's pretty impressive indeed. Now, I'm gonna retrieve my target at 50 yards, put a target up at 100 yards, and see what this rifle can really do. All right, we got 5 more rounds loaded up. We got a target down range at 100 yards, and right here is the target that I retrieved at 50 yards. That's about a ½ inch, maybe a little bit less than a ½ inch at 50 yards. Definitely minute of squirrel. Now let's see what this rifle can do at 100. Make my adjustments here. I did move the scope over about 4 clicks. It was printing a little bit to the left. I had moved it over too much. It's not a bad little group. Let me go down there and retrieve the target. We'll see what we have. I retrieved my target down range. Like I mentioned, I think I may have moved my scope a little bit too much, but that is about an inch group. I'm going to measure it and give you guys a close-up shot to see exactly how big, but it's very, very close to an inch. It could be just a tad, maybe like 0.9 inches, but it's close enough to an inch. So this rifle will shoot without a problem, you know, MOA at least, but probably more than likely sub-MOA. And you're probably asking yourself, why do I want to go with a Mach 2? Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I never had the desire to own a 17 Mach 2, even when they came out. And after shooting rimfire pretty much for a living for the past 3 or 4 years, I was able to give new cartridges a try. And the benefit, I guess, of the 17 Mach 2 over that of the 17 HMR would be small game hunting under 150 yards. If you shoot a squirrel or a rabbit with a 17 HMR, you know, 150 yards or under, especially when they're about 50 yards, you can do a lot of damage to that meat that you're out hunting for. The 17 Mach 2 will still get the job done, but it won't mess the meat up as bad. This rifle, or this caliber and this rifle combined, is perfectly capable of small game hunting out to 150, even 175 yards. This cartridge, the 17 Mach 2, was designed for small game hunting 175 yards and less. With the 17 HMR, you can get probably about 200 to 225 yards on small game animals. So depending on where you hunt, in a lot of states and a lot of places where I hunt, I'm not expecting to get over a 100-yard shot, so the 17 Mach 2 would be perfectly fine. It's a little bit quieter if you're going to be using a suppressor than that of a 17 HMR. Regardless if you're using a suppressor or not, it's going to be quieter than that of a 17 HMR, but it's still got that pop. You know, you hear that crack down range because that bullet is traveling close to 2,100 feet per second. But the rifle will shoot. It shoots great, and this new ammo combined with it will get the job done. I've actually took a squirrel with this rifle, probably the first person, well, matter of fact, I know I'm the first person to ever take a squirrel with a 17 Mach 2 Volquartsen Summit and this new ammunition. But I shot a squirrel at 108 yards with this particular setup. You know, put it on its head and hit it right in the head. So the rifle will shoot. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments below. Go over to my Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter page and ask them there. Until next time, y'all be safe and keep blinking.